Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, guys. Celtic Warband here, and welcome back to another battle in Rise of Mordor. In today's battle, an army of men and elves are marching eastwards to make war with the forces of Sauron. However, when marching through one of the many mounted passes, they are cut off by a host of orcs from Mordor. And the forces of Mordor are not alone, for along with the orcs of Mordor comes a large contingent of orcs and beasts from the ruined fortress of Dol Guldur, and at their head is one of the nine. It is here that the men and elves must hold, for retreat in the tight mountain passes would mean certain death. As the forces of evil charge forth, the alliance of men and elves form up for what could be their final stand. We will begin the army comps by taking a look at the armies of men and elves, and the army of Rohan is commanded by Wheezy232, and the Elves of Lindon are commanded by Shogun Color Red V10 Power. And I have the stats bar on the left opened so that you guys can see the different stats of these units as we take a look at them. And if you're not interested in the army comps, I should have some chapters down below so you can fast forward directly to the battle. Now, in the front lines, we do have some Tier 2 spear units. We've got the Erling Men-at-Arms. Now, these guys will be taking the brunt of the charge from the orcs, but we do have a few units of Guard of the Golden Hall here as well, and they should really hold for quite some time, especially against the lower tier orcs. Very solid spear unit, and I love the look of these guys' shields too, and I think the red complements very well with the green. Very nice looking units. For the second line, we've also got some Rohirrim. We've got the Axe Thanes, 5 units of them. And over in the trees on their right-hand flank, we've got 2 units of the Erling Retainers. Next, we've got some archers here, after 2 lines of infantry, and it's a mix of the Noldorin and the Rohan archers. We've got Yeomen of the Mark, and then 3 units of Garrison of the Hornburg. We've got 1 here, 1 over here, and 1 over here. Next, we've got the powerful Elven Archers, 4 units of Noldorin Archers. Love the golden color of these guys, too. Very, very nice looking. There are the stats, as you can see, for the Noldorin Archers as well. And now we come to the main line of the Elves of Lindon. Very powerful looking army, and also formed up just like an Elven army would, I would imagine. In the front lines here, we've got the Noldorin Spears. And right behind that, we have quite a few units of the Noldorin Swords. Very nice. And at the rear guard, we've actually got the most elite infantry. We've got some shipwright nobles, with one of them being the Elven General, and 2 halberd units too, the Noldorin Nobles. Back here, we've got some more Rohirrim. We've got more Erling Retainers. I believe 4 units of them. You can see the other 2 here. And now we'll get on to the cavalry. Coming out of the trees here for Rohan, we've got some Knights of the Mark and Knights of the House of Earl with triple gold chevron upgrades. We've got a 3rd unit over there on their left-hand flank, but we've also got some Noldorin Cav as well. We have the Noldorin Equestrians, and we have a 2nd unit of Equestrians on this flank as well. And that rounds out the entire army of the forces of men and elves. So let's go ahead and take a look at the enemies. And now we come to the armies of evil. I am commanding the forces of Dol Guldur, and the Hunted is commanding the forces of Mordor. We're going to be taking a look at my units because they are more towards the front, and then we will look at the forces of Mordor under the command of the Hunted right afterwards. In the front lines, though, I have 4 units of very cheap Tier 1 Phantoms. The only good thing about these guys is that they are unbreakable, so even under heavy archer fire, we should be able to get them into melee and at least form that battle line. Right behind that, I have 5 units of Guldur Blades, good staple infantry units. And then I have 4 units of Guldur Glaives, which are heavy shock infantry. Of course, as I said in the introduction, we do have one of the 9 leading this glorious army today. And then I have 2 units of the Guldur Pikes, and 3 units of the Champions of Dol Guldur. I also have 2 units of Servants of the Eye. They are over here. That's my cavalry. I've got 3 units of the Wraiths. Very cool looking unit. And finally, I have 2 units of the trolls, the Olag High. Very solid units. Look at that health, 1165 health. Very tanky boys. Can't wait to see them in action today. My forces are moving forwards, but let's quickly rush over here because the Hunted with Mordor has 2 Servants of the Eye cavalry kind of probing the tree line here, making sure that we don't have any enemies before we do move up. The rest of his forces are in heel here, coming behind my forces from Dol Guldur. We've got a lot of Uruk Throng here. We have some units of Orc Pillagers, a couple units of Uruk Spears, few units of Uruk Archers. I think he has 4 units of them. Yeah, he's got 2 on the other side flanks there. He's also brought 2 units of Olag High. And we've got the Witch King commanding this army here. So 2 of the 9 actually commanding the forces of evil. We've also got some Guards of the Teeth, which are some halberd infantry or pike infantry, and that pretty much rounds out the forces of evil. Very, very large numbers of orcs and beasts charging down this narrow mountainside towards the forces of good. Let's go ahead and get to the battle. Alright guys, welcome to the battlefield, and those phantoms did manage to make it to the front lines of the men of Rohan, and now that we have established that front line, my Guldur blades are closing the gap as quickly as they can. We want to make sure that we can get them into melee quickly, because those archers from the Elves of Lindon will shred my units. Not to mention all of the Rohan archers as well. They will definitely cause some trouble for us. I didn't even bring any archers in this battle, just due to the fact that they won't be really useful in whittling down these heavily armored men and elves. So I just went for a good fighting force of orcs and those Olag High. Hopefully they will serve us well. You can see over here that I am exploiting their flank a little bit here. They kind of had it tucked in a little bit, and they also had a unit of archers up here. There we go. So I'm going to try and charge into the backs of the men of Rohan. Actually got a really good charge on one of those axe units too before pulling away. So this is where I'm going to focus most of my attack. The other Servants of the Eye have charged in to these axes, but we do have one of the archers here, the garrison of the Hornburg, is up on this hilltop, desperately trying to fire down onto my cavalry. I do have my 2 units of Olag High pushing around as well. I do want to try to get them around and then into the flanks of the men of Rohan, but these guys look absolutely terrible and awesome as well. You can see that the other unit is heading up there to try and relieve my cavalry so that I can get them out of melee. I don't want them to be tied down too long. They should be doing some pretty good damage to this single unit of Rohan axes, whatever they're called, the axe thanes. We do have a lot of cavalry up here, though. We've got the Noldor Equestrians and the Knights of the House of Earl, trying to save these garrison of the Hornburg, but my Servants of the Eye are very solid cavalry indeed. You can see that they are putting up quite a fight. The other Servants of the Eye has kind of disengaged. I'm going to try and get them completely around enemy lines. Let's quickly zoom out and take a look at the battle as a whole. You can see that the battle line has formed pretty well, but I'm just pushing more and more of my units around this flank. I really want to exploit this left flank that was left open. The Erling men-at-arms are holding, and we also have some more axe thanes being committed into this gap, but the axe thanes up on this hilltop have already broken, and the Noldor Equestrians are engaged in melee. My other Servants of the Eye cavalry, where have they gone? They were over here somewhere. Unless I disengaged them completely. We'll take a look at that in a second, because the Hunted over here has also pushed through with his Uruk Throng. You can see that they are challenging the Rohirrim to a very brutal melee. Trying to hold this flank as well. He's got his Olag High engaged in the fight as well. We do have the cavalry holding back, which is good. I think one of the reasons that the Hunted deployed so many of his forces over here was because we just wanted to try and block in that elite cavalry so that they didn't have an opportunity to outflank us. The battle lines have formed pretty well now, but the Guard of the Golden Hall is holding quite well. The Erling men-at-arms are starting to look a little soft. The Axe Thanes may have to move in and support their brethren in arms. Let's put it on slow motion here because it's not actually a very long battle. You can see here that the Noldor Equestrians are trying to disengage from that fight. The Servants of the Eye, just such a powerful cavalry unit. Alongside these Wraiths and the Olag High, the Elven cavalry does not stand a chance. Unfortunately, there is no music for these Rise of Mordor battles as it is copyrighted, so you're going to have to watch the elves be slain with the sound of chirping birds in the background. Nice and peaceful sight, I am sure. But let's zoom out and see. Yes, I do have my second unit of cav. Here it is. So it is disengaged. It is going to try and get around this flank. We do have the player from Rohan forming up with some Erling retainers, but look at the damage that those Noldorin Equestrians took. He also is trying to pull back this garrison of the Hornburg, which actually did return from routing, which is fantastic, while the Servant of the Eye is closing quite quickly. Let's actually put this on play and see if I get a good charge. I can't remember if I go against them or if I actually move against another unit. Yeah, I wasn't sure if I wanted to push in just yet because I wanted to really exploit this flank over here. Yeah, you can see we've got some cavalry trying to retreat. I believe that was some of the Rohan cavalry. Yeah, the Knights of the House of Earl. And we are just cutting them down, not allowing them to make it back into their secondary line. Let's see how the Hunted is doing over here. He is actually breaking through quite well, doing very well with his units. A lot of the men of Rohan have already forsaken the battlefield and are retreating. But don't forget that our units are mostly engaged in melee at this point, and the Noldorin swords are still fresh and ready to go at a moment's notice. So we still have the elves to deal with after we break these men. But there we go, cutting them down. I'm sure that will strike fear into the hearts of the men of Rohan. Over here, I am still pressuring this flank. If we turn on the HUD here and just slow it down, you can see that I've actually got some wraiths completely surrounding these Axe Thanes, and now we've got the Erling men-at-arms starting to be a little bit hesitant about their position here. They can see that really no help is coming. In fact, if they do look behind them, they can see that the Servants of the Eye are actually barreling towards the very depleted Erling men-at-arms. I also have my second unit of Olag High challenging the secondary line of Thanes here. But there we go, the Servants of the Eye just pounding in like the hammer and anvil, slaughtering these men of Rohan. Which does make me very sad to see this, because I do have a soft spot in my heart for Rohan. I do love their cavalry. We will have to get some good battles like Helm's Deep and Pelennor Fields in the near future. But again, the elves are just content to kind of sit back there and remain fresh, but the men of Rohan are quickly depleting their numbers. Look at the Olag High over here, just stampeding through these depleted spearmen. Now, remember that these are only the Tier 2 spearmen. These are not the Guards of the Golden Hall. The Guards of the Golden Hall are still holding quite strongly. They've only lost 5 men over here, and the second one has only lost 8. And how many kills have they got, actually, if I pull up the HUD here? Yeah, you can see 116 hills for these guys already. And my Guldur blades, along with the Phantoms, are starting to get quite depleted. But again, I feel like this front line is enough to hold. I do have some reserves here, the Guldur glaives. And I just want to get my Guldur pikes actually over here. Here we go. I don't want to miss this charge too. I see that this unit is very spread out, and we're just going to pound through that line with the Servants of the Eye. I am pressuring this flank with everything that I have, because I can see that this is really the only weak point in their battle line that they have. We're not going to be able to punch through the front lines of the men of Rohan. We have to pressure the flank where they may be unprepared. We do have those archers, too. I do want to get a hold of those Noldorin archers with my Servants of the Eye. But these guys should not be too happy about being charged like that. The Erling Retainers, yeah, they lost quite a bit. And I'm following it almost immediately with my Wraiths. I want to get those Wraiths engaged in melee so that I can pull my Servants of the Eye out as quickly as possible. But as I said, look at all of the Noldoran swords just sitting here fresh and waiting to get into battle. They may be called on quite soon, though, actually. Looks like the Noldoran equestrians are pulling back. That actually could have been a great opportunity at a charge, but instead he's almost forsaking his ally here, pulling back and allowing the Erling retainers to be completely surrounded. At the expense of the lag, I will try and zoom in just to give you guys that cinematic battle feel. But I have to say a huge props to the Rise of Mordor crew for these amazing looking models. Very awesome looking models. But unfortunately, these men of Rohan are completely surrounded. We've got a good fight here between one of these little standard bearers. I love how he has the flag kind of attached to his back like that. That way he is able to hold a sword and a shield. Although he just took a shield right to the face. Oh my goodness. Come on, boy. This guy is deep behind enemy lines here. That is worrying. Oh, I love these little 1v1s that are going on. Well, this guy is not going to survive. He is way too far away from his men. Oh, but he's going to get him. Oh, yes. Well done, men from Rohan. And just immediately died there. Very unfortunate. Let's go ahead and take a look at what's going on over here, because this is a very fast-paced battle. It is already halfway over. I have just annihilated this right-hand flank here, and now I'm actually getting into the Noldoran archers with my phantoms. Again, those phantoms do not break. They've got unlimited morale. So even a depleted unit is very useful to tie up these key archer units and keep them from firing. Ignore the elephant sounds. That is obviously the trolls. I love how they are just hammering on through the garrison of the Hornburg, though. Very cool. We've actually finally got some Noldoran units coming in to defend the men of Rohan. But yeah, these guys are definitely outnumbered as far as the health is concerned of these units. Again, you can't really go wrong with 1165 health from these Olog High. They're just so tanky. Following it with the Guldur blades, and I'm setting up the Guldur pikes here just to try and protect my units so that I can get some of the units around the flanks of these Noldoran spears. You can see Noldoran spears and Noldoran swords are engaged in melee, and they will hold, even completely surrounded, for quite some time. Let's go ahead and get rid of that for now and take a look at how the Hunted is doing. He's got a lot of reserves still left, and I am finally bringing in my Guldur glaives. Again, probably not even considering moving them in for the main battle line. I just want to get them around and exploit this flank. It's just doing wonders for me. Unfortunately, the Servants of the Eye cavalry is pretty depleted now, but if we just bring this up real quick, one of them has 371 kills, and I think the other one is dead at this point. But if we quickly look at my Olog High as well, I've got 192 so far on them, and I've got 208 on this one. So we're doing quite well. Considering that these kills are on some very high-value targets, I think we're doing okay. I see that this could be a disaster, though. We actually had the Noldor Equestrians moving around on our flank. I quickly activate my pikemen to try and stop that from happening, and surprisingly, he pulls away. I don't know exactly why he did that. He definitely had the upper hand, but now we've got a depleted unit of Noldor Equestrians moving in on my pikemen, and I'm just going to push these guys forwards. And oh, what's going on there? What are you doing? There we go. Form up, you rabble. Form up, you rabble of orcs. Very good. Noldoran swords just slaughtering my men over here. Engaging the wraiths. Very cool looking unit model as well. I do love it. Yes. Yes, Elves of Lindon. Immortal you may be, but you shall die on this battlefield today. Let's take a look at what else is going on. I've got my glaives ready to go here. We've actually broken through the center thanks to the help from my Olog High. But again, this garrison of the Hornburg just holds and holds. We've got a large contingent of men and elves over here fighting some of the Servants of the Eye from the Hunted and some Olog High. I'm going to send in my Olog High into their flanks to try and break their morale. But again, the Elven morale is very strong. We've got some more Noldoran swords here and Noldoran nobles. And what's going on? Yeah, Noldoran equestrians charging in, getting a good flanking charge there on the orc pillagers. Very nicely done. Let's go ahead and slow this down just a bit so that we can watch some of the fighting. The beautiful elves fighting the orc rabble. Unfortunately, my men are fleeing the battle. I mean, they are exhausted. They've been fighting in the front lines for quite some time. But thankfully, we do have some reserves that are still fresh. And it looks like they are going to try and get those Elven cavalry disengaged. But as they do that, these blades from Mordor will claim a few lives. And actually, the Servants of the Eye are pursuing them. Oh, man, yeah. Some of the Elven cavalry being cut down there. But now there really isn't any battle line, as you can see. It's just mayhem everywhere. We've got a huge gap where we have pushed the men and elves back to almost their third line, I would say. But we still have so many Noldoran swords that have yet to be activated. However, the balance of power is looking pretty good for us. And we do have the Knights of the House of Earl King Theoden trying to escape my depleted unit of Servants of the Eye. I just want to catch him in melee and then see if I can get some other units in. Just to bait him to fight, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. More Knights of the House of Earl are retreating from the battlefield as well. And yes, look at these wraiths. The wraiths are also unbreakable, so I have a unit literally with 3 orcs left, and they are still fighting. So they are very useful for kind of tying down enemies for the time being until I can get a more healthy unit there. Let's take a look at this beautiful fight, though. That is a very nice fight of orcs and elves. Unfortunately, though, the Noldoran swords are slaughtering my orcs. That is to be expected, though. And there's the 3 wraiths. Oh, they actually moved in. Let's actually just watch them for a bit. Okay, one of them was immediately cut down there. Oh, and we got are those the shipwright nobles moving in? That caused quite a stir there. Shipwright nobles moving into melee. Is that their general's unit? It is not their general's unit, which is good. But let's take a look at how the Hunted is doing. Most of his forces have been pushed into melee at this point, and the same with mine as well. You can see I have some very depleted units that are holding back, that have returned from routing that I haven't noticed have yet. Finally, we've got the unit of Erling Retainers breaking here, which does free up 3 units of swordsmen that are desperately needed for the front lines. We've also got the Witch King, the Servants of the Eye, coming up closer just to make sure that those orcs do not retreat. I don't know if the orcs really function under morale. I think it's more under fear. They wouldn't dare break because the Witch King will do far worse things, I'm sure, than the men and elves on the battlefield. The men and elves will just kill, but I'm sure the Witch King has some crazy devices of torture that no orc will want to come across. These guys are really cool, though. I do like the look of the... what are these guys called again? The Noldoran nobles. Very nice uniforms. I love the bronze. And even these weapons, too. Very nice looking weapons. Oh my goodness, they are just slaughtering these orcs. They need to kind of be surrounded. We need to get some units into their backs. That's the only thing that's going to really tear down their numbers. But thankfully, it looks like everything of the men and elves has been engaged in melee. And we actually have the Noldoran general pushing in against my champions of Dol Guldur. I have saved my best units for last, so hopefully they will be able to do quite a bit of damage. Yes, they are slaughtering the elves. Come on, boys, with your two-handed blades. Let's see if we can at least see one of the general's unit get slaughtered here before we move on. Ooh, one of them was knocked down. That is good. Come on, come on. Let's go ahead and turn it to regular speed here. Oh, there goes one of my wraiths cut down by the general's bodyguard. Look at this guy on the flank here, too. Okay, was that Theoden that was killed? I believe Theoden was over here. Yes, so his unit has broken and is fleeing, fighting way too many pikes and spearmen. Theoden falls not on the field of Pelennor, but in the mountain pass. Nicely done there. So that is one general down and one remaining, and you can see that I think most of the Rohan units have broken and are gone. We're pretty much just down to the Noldrin units at this point. And thankfully, my Olag High are still kicking. I think I have both of my units. Yeah, that one just broke there. But this second one is relatively healthy. It's got 6 out of 10. And I am charging into the backs of this general with my Servants of the Eye. That's actually my general that's charging into their backs. Try and zoom in here. Oh, see, yeah, they are slaughtering my Servants of the Eye because I keep trying to pull him out of melee. I just want to get some good decisive charges into the backs of the shipwright nobles. But yeah, losing quite a few there. I'm not sure if that charge is really worth it. Oh, yes, there we go. Okay, so we are starting to slaughter some of the General's Bodyguard unit. Very nice to see. Such a powerful unit. There's not much that can really go toe-to-toe with it. Come on, men. Whittle them down. Whittle them down. And I've got my Olag High in there. Look how massive they look compared to the other units. That is amazing. Awesome modeling there. That is fantastic. I really hope they do kind of find a way to maybe get, like... they probably won't be able to get, like, dragon units, but if the Witch King could be on his dragon mount, that would be absolutely insane. There we go. Yes. Yes, slaughtered them. Let's quickly take a look at what's going on in a bird's eye view here. 3 minutes left in the battlefield, and everybody has all their forces committed at this point. You can see that some of the units will retreat and hopefully survive. But we've got the Witch King and one of the 9 doing some pretty decisive charges into the backs of these units. Let's just take a quick look at that charge. We'll zoom in as the Servants of the Eye come in with their swords drawn. Look at the elves recoiling in fear as they plow on through. That is awesome. And the massive hammers from the Olag High come down onto the elves. Very awesome. Look at some of these elves are just dying right in the midst of the chaos. Very, very cool. These models are insane. And let's see what else is going on. Just pockets of fighting at this point. I was a little bit concerned that this pocket over here, I was actually going to lose. The shipwright nobles holding their own. If we take a look, they have 171 kills right now. So yeah, very powerful unit. Or no, sorry, these Noldorin swords do. Oh, the shipwright nobles only have 47, but then again, they are quite healthy at this point. They still have a lot left in their unit. Right now, we've got another charge from the Servants of the Eye, so I'm going to do another slow motion here. Apologies with there being no music. It is a bit quiet and a tad awkward, but that way we can really just enjoy just how heavy these cavalry charges are. And we've actually got a few duels over here at the same time, but they should be cast aside by the Servants of the Eye as they move on in. Yes, oh my goodness, so many of the elves being thrown to the ground in that charge. Well done, and there is the ring wraith right there, the one of the 9. Nice work. And I believe that the Witch King is still alive as well. If we come over to this side, obviously as we're zooming in, it does get a bit laggy just because it's probably loading all the dead units as well. But if we could locate the Witch King, whereabouts is he? We only have a few more minutes in this battle, so we won't spend too long trying to find him. Yeah, he's got to be here somewhere. I don't think that he's been killed. And maybe you guys see him. If you do see him, let me know down in the comments below. But I think it is a pretty clear victory for the forces of evil this day. 1 minute remaining. We've got an overwhelming balance of power here. 8,570 versus 6,000 to begin. Now we've got 3,100 versus only 300 elves remaining on the battlefield. And finally, it looks like we do have quite a big break over on the hunted side. It's just those Gondorian nobles that are holding there. I am cycle charging this general with everything that I have. We've got the very depleted Gondorian nobles here holding off a ton of Uruk spears. And over here, we've got the Gondorian spears and shipwright nobles basically breaking my units still. But I think we're just going to enjoy the last 37 seconds of this general here and the elves in their final stand. So zoom in and watch some of them get a few more kills on my orcs before they do indeed break. There we go, starting to surround the unit as well. Let's move back and really get them all in the shot. Some of the servants of the Eye cavalry still engaged in melee. But I think at this point they realize that there is no escape. Alright guys, welcome to the end result screen. We've got Dol Guldur here and Lindon up. We're going to take a look at them first. So my general, the Nazgul, got 204 kills, which is pretty awesome to see. Some really good kills on my Guldur blades. And my Guldur glaives, a couple of them getting over 100 kills. But my Phantoms not doing too much, but as I said in the battle replay, they did serve their purpose of formulating that front line for me. So in this case, I think they did all right. But my main kills came from my cavalry. One of the Servants of the Eye getting 375 kills, and my Olag High 320 and 259. Looking at the forces from Lindon, some very solid kills here on the Noldorin swords. 156, 180, 385, 207. The Noldorin spears didn't do as well, but on one of the Noldorin nobles, 282, that is quite good. And he managed to get 152 with one of the Noldorin equestrians. Looking at the forces of Mordor and Rohan, Witch King getting 85 kills, 182 on the Uruk Throng, which is quite solid. Mixed bag for the Uruk spears, but we did get 240 on the Guards of the Teeth. That is quite good. And he did pretty decent with his archers, considering most of the units were heavily armored, like all of the Elves of Lindon. He did get pretty good kills. 290, 152 with the Olag High, and 131 with one of his Servants of the Eye. Looking at Rohan, 55 with Theoden. Unfortunately, he was cut down about halfway through the battle. And a good amount of kills with the spearmen. Even some of the cheaper spears managing to clear 100 kills there. But the Guards of the Golden Hall, 252 there. And this one, 157. Not a lot of kills on his cavalry, but I think they were just kind of overwhelmed, and they didn't have enough room in the narrow passageways to really make full use of their awesome charge bonus. But thank you so much for watching, guys. I really hope you enjoyed. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you'd like to see more content like this in the future. And as always, I will see you in the next one.